You may have seen me complete every collection in Stardew Valley in order, and after wrapping up the series, the most requested follow-up video was simple. Do it all once again on one farm. And this journey spanned over 30 hours of gameplay and nearly 5 in-game years to complete. Was it even possible? And how far can we actually get to completing it? Let's find out. Before we begin, videos like this one take ages to put together, so if you enjoy these longer challenge videos, feel free to subscribe. It's completely free and allows me to continue making more videos just like this one. But without any more delay, let's get into it. Before I even created the farm, I took to do some research to see whether it was even possible to do in the first place, as I didn't really want to waste many hours. Originally, the plan was to first complete the shipping collection in order, then the fishing collection, and so on and so on. Pretty much what I've done before, with the only difference being doing it on a single farm. But there was one problem with that. Quite simply, it is impossible to do, for more reasons than one. You can actually get through the entire shipping collection in order without catching any fish or donating any artifacts or minerals to the museum. So you're probably thinking, what's the problem? Well, assuming we somehow made it all the way through the shipping collection, our next one in order would be the fishing collection, which is actually impossible to complete. You can make it all the way down to the clam before reaching the mutant carp. I think you all know where this is going. The mutant carp can only be caught in the sewers, and to gain access to the sewers, we need to donate 60 artifacts and minerals in total, so Gunther hands us the rusty key. And since the artifact and mineral collections come after the fishing one, there is no way into the sewers, making it entirely impossible to complete every collection in Stardew Valley one after another in order. So that's it. Video over? Of course not. After quickly realising that completing every collection one after the other in order was truly impossible, that meant there was only one way to do this. I had to complete every collection in order, one item at a time. And that's where things started to get even harder. How it would work is we would have to complete item 1 from the shipping collection, then item 1 from the fishing collection, item 1 from the artifacts, and so on. Not only would this be 10 times harder than our previous attempt on the challenge, but will make for an entirely different and unique experience on the in-order challenge. I've set out a few rules to make this challenge even harder than it already is. I will not be able to sell anything directly to vendors, even though this doesn't affect the collections in any way. I will instead only be allowed to sell items I have unlocked, leaving our early game moneymakers extremely limited. And secondly, if at any point I get an item that comes later in the collection too early, I will have to restart the entire day, regardless of what I've done. I'm looking at you, seaweed and green algae. With all the issues out the way, what actually counts towards the collections? Well, for any item in the shipping collection, if I place it into the shipping bin, it then adds that item to the collection the very next morning. For the fishing one, I have to directly catch the fish using a rod or crab pot, which means buying from the travelling cart or gifts are allowed. For the mineral and artifact collections, it's simply by donating them to the museum. And for the cooking collection is making them myself at a kitchen or a cookout kit. Now finally, we have all of that out of the way, we can start the gameplay. But since we'll be doing every collection one item at a time in order, we can no longer use the same strategies we've used in our previous videos and would have to come up with something completely new. In terms of the choice of farm, I decided to go with the Meadowlands farm. The best thing about the Meadowlands farm is that it gives you a free chicken coop and 2 chickens, which is huge considering our methods of making gold before the desert and Ginger Island come down to pretty much nothing. And for the early game, the wild horseradish. Yep, you've heard me right. The wild horseradish is going to be one of our only money makers until early summer. That's because once we ship off the wild horseradish, our next item to get in order is located in the fishing collection and is the pufferfish. That can at the earliest be obtained in the summer. Oh no. There's nothing however in the meantime that would stop us making some early game progress, which is exactly what I did by clearing some debris and making our very first chest. It's also a good point to mention that I'll be using the UI Info Suite mod to help me keep track of experience gains, birthdays for recipes, and when it's a good/bad luck day. On my travels I found 2 leeks, although we wouldn't be able to do anything with them apart from eating them or keeping them. One of the downsides of the Meadowlands farm is that we start with hay instead of parsnips, so I do swing round to buy myself some, alongside one of each spring crop, before picking some spring onions in the forest. I did already use up all of my energy, but with some spring onions, I was able to fully plant and water everything, but with nothing else I could do, I went to bed. After watering our crops and petting the chickens, I once more used up all of my energy cleaning more space on the farm, since there is literally nothing better I can do right now. Before leaving, I began construction of a small tree farm and checked the notice board. Since our only money-making method is horseradishes, anytime we complete a help wanted quest, we'll get a little bit of gold, which should help us a bit more than horseradish does. Since it's day 2, I could swing round to the beach to collect our bamboo pole from Willy. But since our first fish we can catch is the pufferfish, I won't be doing any fishing this season. We did also locate our very first artifact. Compared to my attempt on the artifact collection video, I will not be trashing any artifacts this time, since they don't even contribute towards the collection until I donate them anyway. In the Cindersap forest, we managed to find a horseradish, which is the first item we needed to kick off this video. 1 down, 402 items to go. The next morning, it was nice to see that the wild horseradish in the shipping collection was now highlighted, and of course became instantly disappointed to see that the pufferfish was next. I did take the chance to take 300 pieces of wood to fix the bridge on the beach, in order to access the tide pool area to get some coral and sea urchins. I would need both of them to make a bait maker later down the line, and also for the shipping collection too. By day 5, I was up to 210 gold from selling purely horseradishes. Our parsnips were also ready. I'll make sure to keep one for the shipping collection, one for the spring crops bundle, and any gold ones for the quality crops bundle too. Despite the limitations of this challenge, one thing we could still progress in whilst we waited for the summer to arrive was the mines. I had a lot of eggs and spring onions saved up for energy, and was probably the most stimulation I've gotten since the start of this challenge. We made it to floor 10 before calling it quits after eating all of our eggs, but we managed to find the cave carrot. We'll be needing that to ship soon, alongside a bunch of copper and gems. The soon-to-be 1.7 bachelor was at my door today to hand me the furnace recipe, and I wasted no time today to head back to the mines once more. On floor 17, a monster dropped the monster compendium, which will allow monsters to drop even more items when slain. I also located Dwarf Scroll 4, which is one of the artifacts that appear fairly early into the collection, and I finished the day on floor 25. Day 7, Mayor Lewis showed us around the abandoned community centre, and I made sure to read the plaque. You'll be happy to know I will try and do everything in my power to not go down the Jojo route this time. You believe me, right guys? Although, now that I mention it, how on earth do we plan on completing the fish tank bundle without being able to catch fish? We'll worry about that later. For now, let's make some progress inside the mines. And just like that, floor 40 by only day 7. Straight away, I headed to the Wizard's Tower to learn the language of the Junimos and begin to complete my first bundle inside the community centre. The Spring Foraging Bundle. These wild seeds I get as a reward will be great for more early gold, allowing us to sell a few more wild horseradish once they fully grow. I did also pick up a help wanted quest to collect 6 more copper ores, granting me 270 gold as a reward. Since it was raining, I chose to plant 50 wild seeds, hoping to get as many horseradishes as possible, with the final task of the day being donating a few more items to the community centre that I'd collected over the last 8 days. On the beach I found myself some glass shards, and a few days later a chewing stick. All of these minerals and artifacts I'm making sure to keep very safe for whenever I needed them to donate to the collection. On the 11th I received a green bean and my very first large egg, which can both be dropped off to the community centre. And whilst I was around, I dropped off Robin's lost axe to receive 200 more gold. I did choose to build myself a silo, since, well, they're very cheap to make, and I needed one to complete a quest for the journal anyway. The 13th of spring of course marks the day of the egg hunt, and whilst I went, I bought 2 strawberry seeds for gifts and the shipping collection later. Since the entire town gathers here for the festival, I spoke to everyone to complete the introductions quest for a bit of extra gold, not forgetting to compete and win the egg hunt with flying colours. Over at the community centre, I wrapped up the spring crops bundle and handed Hayley a birthday gift. If you've seen the cooking collection in order video, you'll know how important friendships are. Over half of the recipes you need are obtained from 3 and 7 hearts with most of the villagers, meaning that's yet another thing we're going to have to work on throughout the playthrough. Giving Demetrius a leek gave me 180 more gold, and I wasn't too sure what I wanted to spend our first bits of gold on. Crops was kind of a waste of time at the moment. Perhaps a pickaxe or a backpack upgrade might be best. By the halfway stage of the season, we had made it to floor 60 in the mines with only a normal pickaxe, but since the rocks now take over 2 hits to break, our progress was slowing down massively. It was truly a heavenly sight the next morning to see a bunch of spring forage had fully grown, but more importantly for us, lots of wild horseradish to sell. A new help wanted quest was requiring a handsome young man to bring Haley a parsnip. Well, luckily that's me, right? Since we unlocked the wild horseradish in the shipping collection, I took a bunch to sell at Pierre, putting me way past the 2000 gold mark, allowing me to send off my pickaxe for an upgrade to copper. After handing Haley a parsnip, she gave me a prize ticket, which I got 12 carrot seeds in exchange for. Carrots are super useful for early energy inside the mines, and will eventually need one anyway for the shipping collection. Salmonberry season was here, and what better way to spend my time than collecting as many as possible. The next day I adopted a new cat and harvested some more crops. Thankfully my new copper pickaxe was ready, allowing our progress to resume inside the mines. I also found Dwarf Scroll 2 whilst I was down here. That would definitely save us time getting one later, and by the end of the day I had made it all the way down to floor 80 in the lava levels, giving us access to gold and fire quartz, which we need for the minecarts. To start the day, I handed Pam a birthday gift and completed 2 more help wanted quests for Haley and Linus. In the mines I found a rare disc, which is one of the most annoying artifacts to get. After getting my hands on a fire quartz and a gold bar, it was enough to complete the boiler room and repair the minecarts, and before late I managed to reach floor 95. Before the end of the season, I had made it to floor 100 to get myself a star drop, and later reached the bottom of the mines. Now this is a worthwhile help wanted quest. Slay 3 ghosts to receive 750 gold and a prize ticket. From the prize ticket we received an orange sapling, which would save us spending thousands of gold on one later. With not much I can really do before the summer arrives, I thought it was best to prepare for after I managed to get the pufferfish, which takes us to the artifact collection requiring Dwarf Scroll 1. So I took to floor 15 in the mines to till the soil. Straight away I found a new artifact, the skeleton tail, then the dwarvish helm, then a rusty spoon, but still no Dwarf Scroll 1. I would have wanted to spend the entire next day tilling the ground too, but spring 24 is the day of the flower dance, and as normal I have to stand on the sidelines and watch everyone else have fun. Right away the next day I get Dwarf Scroll 2. Okay, here we go. Dwarf Scroll 2. And by the end of day 25, I'd managed to find 2 Dwarf Scroll 2s, 2 Dwarvish Helms, 1 Rusty Cog, 1 Rusty Spoon, and 2 Skeletal Tails. But I did finally manage to find myself one. Seeing the fields of spring forage did slightly lighten my mood the next morning. That put our gold total to 2,000 once again, which I went to Clint and sent off my axe for an upgrade. For the final event of the season, I handed Emily a birthday gift and received a fishing lesson from Willie, since I hadn't used the fishing rod for the entire season. This is actually quite useful in all, since it grants us level 1 fishing for completely free, which will save us a little bit of grinding later. With my new copper axe, I could finally collect enough hardwood to complete the construction bundle, and that was it for the spring season. Okay, so let's see how much progress we've made so far. 1 item. This is gonna take a while. Despite the slow start, our progress was definitely going to pick up now that summer was here. The first order of business was to make some sprinklers to save us watering our crops this season, and then head down to the beach to try and get ourselves the pufferfish. Although it wouldn't be as easy as it sounds. In order for us to complete the fishing collection in order, we have to catch the fish, but how do we even know what fish it is? And well, you don't. Kind of. Some harder fish have distinct patterns to make them easier to recognise, with some others basically being impossible to tell. Lucky for us, the pufferfish is a tough one to get, so we'll be able to notice it fairly easily. And if we ever get something that doesn't move that much, we can press escape to cancel out and cast our rod once more. Whenever I feel like it's the pufferfish, I will attempt to reel it in. Of course, if I get seaweed or sea jelly in the process, I won't have any time to cancel and would have to restart the day. Okay, this one definitely feels like the pufferfish. The pufferfish is normally quite hard to catch, but since this is our very first fish, the progress bar doesn't decrease at all, making it arguably the easiest fish to get, and all we had to do was hope it was the right one. And we caught it. Finally, we're making some progress. We won't be able to keep this up however, as the fish coming up in the collection are much harder to tell, and would require us getting our hands on a sonar bobber, which I'll get into when we get there. But now the pufferfish was caught, we could pan our heads to the artifacts collection, where we can simply donate Dwarf Scroll 1, and just like that, it's added to the collection. The next one was in the mineral collection, which is an emerald. Annoyingly, this did take longer than I had hoped to find, but I managed to get one from a barrel. It was too late to donate it today, but one thing I could do was donate the crab to the crab pot bundle to complete it. But after donating it, that meant we are straight to the cooking collection next, which was thankfully a nice and simple recipe, the fried egg, which requires a single egg, and was the exact reason I wanted to start on the Meadowlands farm to begin with. Since we haven't upgraded our house yet, we can still cook using the cookout kit, meaning we have officially complete the first rows on every collection in order. Only hundreds more to go. That meant we went straight back to the shipping collection, and it's the daffodil. Luckily, I had over 30 of them to ship off, putting us on 1.9 thousand gold overnight. Let's be real here. It's pretty obvious we're going to need a better method to make some gold than just selling hundreds of horseradishes and daffodils. And considering we can't even grow them anymore, makes this situation even worse. And that's where the most genius idea came to me. Sure, I couldn't sell any items to vendors I haven't unlocked yet, but what about trashing them? Stay with me here. If I upgrade my trash can to copper, I will now reclaim 15% of the value, which isn't the best, but would mean practically anything we get can make us some gold. And the more trash can upgrades we do, the more gold I will make per item. After shipping off the daffodil, the next fish is the anchovy, which can only be caught in the spring and fall season, so it looks like another season of no more progress. At the travelling cart, I bought myself a tilapia and also a tuna a few days later. The tuna is the third fish in the collection, so if I could find a way to turn it into targeted bait, it might make it easier to catch. At the moment, my main money making method is to trash every single egg I get from my chickens, which do make me a fairly decent amount of gold every time. Not just that, but doing even more help wanted quests, such as giving Linus an emerald, also boosted my gold total too. Talking about emeralds, since we have actually unlocked emeralds in the mineral collection, that means we can sell as many as we like for a great money making method. Each emerald sells for 250 gold apiece, and I'd never thought I'd say this, but our summer money making method is emerald farming. They are the easiest gem to find however, but after one day of emerald farming, we could ship off 3 of them, making 750 gold. With this newfound gold, I can send my trash can off for a second upgrade to steel. During my emerald farming, I managed to get myself a prismatic shard. We'll need one for the minerals collection, and also for the galaxy sword later. Alongside emerald farming, I'll also be smelting as many gold bars as possible, and unfortunately trashing them for even more gold. On the 11th of summer, Linus sent us the Mackie roll in the mail, which is huge for the chef's bundle, as due to it appearing very late in the cooking collection, this alongside the travelling cart would be the only way to get one for this bundle. At Clint's, I collected my new steel trash can and bought some tuna bait from Willie's shop. That would almost guarantee I get it first time without using sonar bobbers. But to even get to the tuna, we'll have to still get the anchovy in the fall. I bought a sandfish from the travelling cart for the specialty fish bundle and completed the summer crops bundle inside the community centre. At Pierre's, I trashed some more gold bars in order to buy a bunch more melon seeds, since I still needed 5 gold star quality ones for the bundle. The 16th was the arrival of the Green Rain event, which would allow me to get a bunch of moss and fibres alongside some fiddlehead ferns from the mossy trees. No living hats this time. If you know, you know. On the 21st, I bought a pomegranate for the Enchanters bundle, and by the 24th, I had enough gold to send off my trash can for yet another upgrade to gold. On the 26th, I bought a red cabbage seed and a rare seed from the travelling cart, and managed to get 5 gold star quality melons for the quality crops bundle, making sure to swing by Clint's and pick up my new gold trash can too. Before the end of the summer was here, Demetrius was at my door offering to fill the farm cave with mushrooms or bats. I did of course choose bats for all the different fruits we need for the community centre and the shipping collection. And on the final day of the summer, I trashed a bunch more gold bars to afford a few items from the cart, such as a truffle and a coconut for the shipping collection, and also one more rare seed. Funnily enough, one of the harder bundles, the chef's bundle, I was able to complete before the fall was even here. Of course, the true final event of the season is to watch the Dance of the Moonlight Jellies to end off the season. In terms of our progress so far, we've completed 5 more items, bringing our total to 6 out of 402. Yeah. Things will pick up, I promise. After some more gold farming, one of the best things in the entire challenge happened. The special orders board was built. Doing special orders can grant anything up to 10,000 gold, and would be a fairly easy way to finish the vault bundle and many other things I needed to spend gold on, such as barns and animals. For the first one, I chose Robin's Resource Rush, since it offers the most gold as a reward. After reaching level 10 mining, I made sure to choose the Blacksmith perk. That will make the metal bars worth 50% more, and will give us even more gold when I trash them. I have been so distracted by the new special orders board that I had completely forgotten that I can actually make some progress in the collections. We can now get the anchovy. This was no easy feat, as you'd know. Without having sonar bobbers, we are unable to tell what fish I was catching. And the anchovy was certainly one that's very hard to tell. I decided to take a risk, and the first hook was a tilapia. First restart of the video. Instead of blindly trying again, I bought a tiger trout from the travelling cart and some bream bait from Willie's. I have two options. Either I continue blindly until I get lucky enough to get it, or I wait until Willie sold me some anchovy bait. But who knows how long that might take. Back home, I trashed all of my gems and gold bars, that put me on 18,000 gold, and donated a few more items to the community centre. I really wanted to fix the bus to the desert, and to do that, we need to make 42,000 gold to finish the vault bundle. But the more stuff I trash, and the more gold bars I smelt, the more gold we'll get. After I reached the 25,000 gold mark, I bought one of the bundles to receive one of the most important items in the challenge so far. The crystallarium. Now that we had a crystallarium, I could infinitely duplicate emeralds, giving us a permanent source of gold. Unfortunately, we would need iridium bars to make any more, so it would just be one right now. But once I make it to the Skull Caverns, we can create an entire empire of them. The game thought to mock me, however, by selling me an anchovy later at the travelling cart. Unfortunately, I could not turn it into bait myself, as the recipe for the bait maker is locked behind level 6 fishing, and at level 1 fishing, we were nowhere near that. After wrapping up one more special order, I chose to buy a very expensive bait and bobber book from the bookseller, which put me a single XP away from fishing level 2. As a reminder, we need to reach level 6 fishing for sonar bobbers and the bait maker, and eventually level 10 fishing to unlock the masteries. Catching a single piece of driftwood on floor 100 was then enough to push me to level 2 fishing. Instead of making progress, I chose to make the farm look nicer for some reason, by placing some paths. It's like I somehow already knew I was going to be on this farm for many more years to come. At the same time, I could reorganize my chest system. I wanted a place to house all of the minerals and artifacts, alongside any shipping collection items I'll be needing to donate and ship later down the line. Now that I had reached level 2 fishing, Willie would sell me the fiberglass fishing rod, allowing the use of custom bait. And by the 14th, I just chose to try and get the anchovy, no matter how many fails I get. But luckily, I managed to get myself one fairly quickly, and we can officially continue with the collections. The next item was of course in the artifact collection, with Dwarf Scroll 2, and then the aquamarine in the mineral collection. Two items I had already gotten ages ago. The next item was the omelette, needing a single egg and some milk. So after trashing a few more items, I took to Robin's to build myself a barn to house cows for the milk I needed. After completing one more special order, I attended the Stardew Valley fair, mainly for the star drop and the prize ticket. Of course, with a few spins on the wheel, I was able to get both fairly easily. By the 19th, my barn had been constructed, and I made sure to buy myself a cow and a milk pail, before taking all of my gold to finish the vault bundle. Not only would we need access to the desert early due to the coconut and cactus fruit appearing on the first row of the shipping collection, but also access to iridium will make us even more gold from trashing the iridium bars. The very next day, I took the bus to the desert to get the coconut and cactus fruit, but also to trade for some spicy eels at the desert trader. Before entering Skull Caverns, I traded a prismatic shard for the galaxy sword and went in for the very first time. I didn't expect too much from this run, especially because our copper pickaxe and a lack of backpack space were gonna really drag us down. I had a lot of hope in the bombs would do most of the work. I managed to find myself an auto petter, prismatic shard, and around 90 iridium ore, which wasn't bad for our very first trip. Better yet, I managed to find 3 emeralds and 5 aquamarines that I can now sell for profit. Since gold wasn't too much of an issue anymore, I trashed enough to afford a barn upgrade and returned to the Skull Caverns for even more treasures. With each run I do, I come away with so much iridium and gems to sell. And just look at that, nearly 10,000 gold from trashing all of these iridium bars. With this newfound wealth, I could spend my gold on anything I wanted. That included the final backpack upgrade and a few more tool upgrades. Finally, my cow had produced some milk today, which meant in a cookout kit, I could make the omelette, completing my second column of collections. That means once again we're back to the shipping collection, and we can ship off a leek. The next fish was the tuna, exclusive to the summer and winter seasons, so once again we're going to have to wait for the next season to come around. And to wrap this season up, I collected another star drop from the secret woods, collected some hardwood for the boat to Ginger Island later, and bought a few more fish to donate to the community centre. Going into the winter season, we are 11 out of 402 items completed, and it started by completing the pantry and then the crafts room using the winter forage I found. That meant we are getting very close to completing the entire thing. With the greenhouse unlocked, I could now plant the fruit trees I'd collected, also the red cabbage I needed for the dye bundle. Back in the ocean, I caught the tuna, allowing us to continue with the collections. The next two artifacts and minerals were easy, with Dwarf Scroll 3 and the Ruby, with the salad being an easy one to make too. That meant we had already completed another column, and it was time to start off column 4 by shipping off the dandelion, and now we were making some progress. At the beach, I took some sardine bait I had to get myself one, followed by donating Dwarf Scroll 4 and then an amethyst to the museum. To save us keep wasting the cookout kit, I trashed some iridium bars to afford a house upgrade. At the travelling cart, I bought 5 sunfish, which is used in the recipe to make baked fish, which is coming up fairly quickly, which was perfect timing. And would have really been an issue since we cannot catch our own sunfish just yet. With some cheese and cauliflower in our new kitchen, I made the cheese cauliflower, making it 4 columns completed in order, followed quickly by shipping off the parsnip. I bought a chub from the travelling car, which I needed for the field research bundle, wasting no time to skip over the festival to catch a bream for the collection. The next artifact was the chipped amphora, followed by the topaz, and luckily, as I mentioned before, we now have everything to make the baked fish recipe, sunfish from the cart, and the bream from just catching it, followed quickly by the cave carrot, largemouth bass after a few failed attempts, and with that I could finish the lake fishing bundle. Then the arrowhead from an artifact trove, then the jade, parsnip soup, and then back to a coconut. Unfortunately, the smallmouth bass that comes next in the fishing collection can only be caught in the spring or fall season, so that's going to be it for this season's progress. The entire rest of the winter season was dedicated to barn and coop upgrades, completing more special orders, and checking the saloon every day for a few dishes I need later. If you've seen my cooking collection in order video, for recipes like the complete breakfast, we need hash browns that come after it in the collection, so we'll be looking out for them alongside some tortillas and pancakes too, with the only thing of note being a caviar from the travelling cart, which would save us needing a sturgeon fish pond later for the shipping collection. Buying ourselves a duck feather from the night market to nearly complete the bulletin board, getting a rare tea set from Hayley at the Feast of the Winter Star, a rabbit's foot from the travelling cart, allowing us to fully finish every bundle inside the community centre apart from the fish tank, for obvious reasons of course. I'm still determined to complete the fish tank bundle without the Jojo route, but with our luck on the travelling cart running out, we might not have any choice. We'll need to be at Ginger Island fairly soon due to a very annoying item in the shipping collection. Okay, here we are in the new year. The plan for this year is to grow one of every crop, not only to keep safe for the shipping collection, but also for the many cooking recipes we'll need to make. Now that spring is here, we can get the smallmouth bass, allowing me to donate an ancient doll and diamond to the museum. Unlocking diamonds is actually going to be huge now, especially due to the fact that we have crystallariums. The next cooking recipe is the vegetable medley that usually unlocks via Caroline at 7 hearts, but luckily I've already got 7 hearts. We will have to go to the desert however to buy some beet seeds to finally make one. Whilst we waited for the beets to grow, I chose to check out what fish I was still missing to complete the community centre, a walleye and red snapper. And with us unable to catch them right now, I was left with a tough choice. I think you all know where this is going. Missing the walleye and red snapper was actually really bad for completing the community centre the normal way. According to the Stardew Valley predictor, neither of those are scheduled to appear at the travelling cart until the end of year 3, and not in the trash cans either past year 10. And sure, you can get the pet cat to give you the walleye, but who knows how long that could take. And even if that did happen, the cat cannot give you the red snapper, and can only be obtained either by catching it or in the travelling cart. So I hope you all forgive me once again, and understand that I really did try and not use the Jojo route this time, but for the sake of precious time and progress, I headed to the Jojo Mart and bought the membership. And to be honest, it's actually very annoying now that I have to see the community centre turn into the Jojo warehouse, considering 99% of it was done the better way. The next day, of course, I headed back to buy the one and only bundle, Panning, which meant we have finally completed the community centre and can begin our preparations for Ginger Island. Before we headed there, I made up the vegetable medley and shipped off some cactus fruit to start the next column. Of course, in the nature of this challenge, the next fish was the rainbow trout that can only be caught in the summer, but once we arrive on Ginger Island, I have a plan that will stop all this time wasting with seasons. We did also need to find a way to level up our fishing skill, and like my fishing collections in order video, the only ways to do this without fishing is with fish ponds. And finally, after all of this time, I had managed to get all the necessary materials to build myself one. You might be asking, Tom, why don't you just catch the same fish you have already unlocked over and over again? And while you're kind of right, that would be 50 times faster than fish ponds. The main issue is getting seaweed, green algae, and the jellies. as getting any of them too early will force us to reset the entire day. And even with targeted baits, the chances of getting them are still the same, and still highly risky to do. For now though, I'll be placing some mussels inside the fish pond, since they have a good chance to produce some more seaweed, which we can use to further boost our fishing levels by building more fish ponds. But finally, we had all the materials to head to Ginger Island, which is where things should hopefully start picking up in pace. Despite having to take the Joja route for the final bundle, we are finally here on the island, and our main goals here are to get into Mr. Key's walnut room as fast as possible, and also try and get our hands on a banana too. If you've seen the shipping collection in order video, you'll know the banana appears on the first row of the shipping collection, even though we're not there just yet. Of course, it's the next item in the shipping collection we need, and with summer looming for the rainbow trout, it won't be too long until we need one. We'll also need access to the dig site too for most of the bone related artifacts. And in the volcano, we're mainly looking for an ostrich egg, since we'll need one for the shipping collection later, as well as a few items as well, like the cinder shards and the magma caps. Back home, after completing a special order from Clint, I'm able to build a bunch of geode crushers, which should be able to help us get most of the minerals we need for the mineral collection, alongside a few artifacts too. Thankfully, it didn't take us that long to get a banana sapling out of a golden coconut, meaning in about 28 days, we'll have gotten one of the hardest shipping collection in order items. Before the end of spring, we had hit level 10 foraging, and remember, we'll need to max all of our skills for all of the mastery related items later. Whilst we waited for summer to arrive in order to catch the rainbow trout, I began making a few separate chests off to the right, where I'll be trying to get every mineral, artifact, and shipping collection items ready for when I needed them. And whenever I had any spare time like now, I could work on getting any items I was missing. This did include spending a lot of time putting geodes into geode crushers, managing to get what seemed like 90% of all the minerals I needed for the collection. As you'd know, the mineral and artifact collections are much smaller than the other ones, meaning once they're out of the way, things will move much faster. And by then, I had made it to level 3 fishing from just my fish ponds. When the summer had arrived, I finally got the rainbow trout, then donating a prismatic shard and elvish jewellery next. Unfortunately, the next cooking recipe is one that haunted me throughout my cooking collection in order video, the complete breakfast. Thankfully, however, I have had plenty of time to get my hands on some hash browns and pancakes from the saloon to make it easily this time. That then meant the next item was the banana, and with the sapling already planted, it was purely a waiting game until we could continue. At the same time, we had made it into Mr. Key's walnut room and chose danger in the deep. There isn't much we need from Mr. Key's walnut room. The key to the town is always useful, but the main thing we want is magic bait. With the use of magic bait, we can catch every single fish in the game, regardless of season, weather, or time. Luckily, I had seen Gus had visited the island, and this is where I could buy the tropical curry recipe, which is exclusive to when he only visits the island. So that's one less thing to worry about. Aside from the key gems, we would also need danger in the deep for the radioactive ore and radioactive bar for the shipping collection. But finally, we did have our banana after waiting the entire season. Then I could catch the salmon, donate the chewing stick and quartz. The next cooking recipe, the fried calamari, on the surface does seem like a huge issue for us, since it requires a squid to make, and we cannot catch the squid in the fishing collection just yet. But thankfully, I had bought one from the travelling cart earlier in the year, making this very easy to make. Thankfully, most of the shipping collection from here onwards is fairly easy, consisting of mostly crops and artisan products, with only a few tricky items left to get. It's really the next cooking recipe that made my heart drop, the strange bun. On the surface, it's easy to get with just 7 hearts with Shane, and he'll send you the recipe. It wasn't getting the recipe I was worried about, it was the ingredients. Void mayo, which means we're going to need to get our hands on a void egg. Normally, once you unlock the sewers, you can buy one from Krobus, but since we aren't even 20 items donated to the museum yet, that was off the cards, with the only other way of getting one being a random rare event, where a witch leaves one in your coop. But how long could that take? Years? Decades? You can also get a void egg from a void salmon fish pond, but the void salmon is locked behind the sewers, which we can't get to. However, on the wiki, there is one more way to get one outside of those normal ways. If the player is married to Shane, there is a chance he may present them with one as a gift on rainy days. So it looks like we're marrying Shane again. Whilst we increased our friendship with Shane, I continued what I could, shipping the sap, catching the walleye, donating the fan and fire quartz, until we had no other choice but to wait to get a void egg to make void mayonnaise for the strange bun cooking recipe. And that's the only thing stopping us from completing the first entire row of the collections in order. Normally I would also be concerned about the periwinkles too, but luckily I have a couple from the travelling cart. On the 4th, I had enough seaweed to make one more fish pond, with us already being close to level 4 fishing. By the 10th, we had reached 10 hearts with Shane and asked him to marry us. That means anytime it's a rainy day and he gives us something, it has a chance to be the void egg we so need. And only by the 13th, I managed to reach level 4 fishing. On the 24th, I built yet another fish pond, and by the winter, I had a full set of diamond crystallariums, which are funding everything I would need from now on until the end of the challenge. And by the end of my second winter, we were up to 4 fish ponds in total, and had reached fishing level 5. Going into the new year, I really wanted to max out all of my skills once again, and basically have every single shipping collection item, mineral, and artifact ready for when I overcome the void egg. I would also need a void egg for shipping, and also void mayo for shipping too. But eventually, on a rainy day, this happened. Finally, we had ourselves a void egg from Shane. Instead of turning this void egg straight into void mayonnaise we need, I chose to incubate the egg inside the coop to get an infinite amount of them. One more fish pond later, and we had made it to level 10 farming, and also reached level 10 combat too. This is how all the skills look now. Everything was maxed apart from fishing. Just look at how messy our Ginger Island farm has become. And a few weeks later, look at that, plenty of void eggs to go around. But more importantly, that means I can finally make some void mayonnaise and make the strange bun. Somehow, with 2 years and 1 month played, we have only just completed our first row in every collection in order. With the most challenging items out of the way now, there wasn't too much stopping us from kicking our feet together and getting this crazy challenge completed. Over the course of the year, I've been getting most of the items needed for each collection, excluding the fishing collection of course, and there is nothing stopping us. Well, there is I guess. Fishing level 6, and then fishing level 10. But still, there is nearly nothing stopping us. By the 4th of summer, I had finally made it to fishing level 6, which meant we could finally catch fish much easier now. That's because Willie now sells sonar bobbers, allowing us to know exactly what fish we have hooked, and to make sure we don't accidentally catch the wrong one. After shipping off the large egg, I could catch the perch fairly easily using our new bobber, followed by the dinosaur egg and frozen tear. Similar to the other recipes, the lucky lunch does look like an issue, since it requires a tortilla, that comes later in the cooking collection, as well as a sea cucumber, which comes much later in the fishing collection. But since we've been here for 3 years now, I have gotten both from the travelling cart and from the saloon. Let's get a bunch more done right now. We did have to stop when we reached the rusty spur, since, well, I didn't have one. The rusty spur has a good chance to be found on the farm in artifact spots, so I cleared out a bunch of debris and grass, and even found an alien capsule. Whilst we waited to get one, I returned to the volcano to get myself an ostrich egg, as it comes up fairly soon in the shipping collection, as well as taro tubers which I planted on the island farm. I did try and level up my fishing a bit faster using only targeted baits for pikes. I said I'd try to level up my fishing and managed to catch a few, but I didn't want to risk another river jelly or green algae, so I stopped. The next day I tried once again with some more pike bait to get... yeah, I'm not sure how we plan on getting to fishing level 10. However, a few attempts later, I managed to get quite lucky and not get a single green algae or river jelly, giving me a decent amount of experience in the process. On the 17th, I managed to find the rusty spur on the farm to continue with the collections in order. After some fishing in the mountains, I had reached level 7 fishing without getting any jellies or algae, but when we did get to the herring, it did prove to cause some issues. Although I did manage to get it. After shipping off a cauliflower, funnily enough, I was visited by a witch overnight, so if somehow I was still missing a void egg by now, this is the chance I'll be able to get one. The eel was next and proved no trouble. It was the next artifact that was a slight issue, the ancient seed. I thought the best way to get one was to take some monster musk down to the lower levels of the mines to slay bugs, and surprisingly, I was right. Didn't take me that long at all, and I could continue the collections. When it came to the octopus, I knew I wasn't going to have a fun time. For me, the octopus is one of the hardest fish to get, and only being fishing level 7 with an iridium rod, no trapper bobbers since we needed to have the sonar bobber on, I knew this was not going to be easy. By the fall, we had 8 fish ponds on the farm, all for that fishing experience, and I sort of came to the realization that I had no chance to catch the octopus until I leveled up my fishing skill. This took me to the secret woods of all places on rainy days. In this pool of water, you cannot get any green algae, meaning I can catch as many catfish and carps as I want to level up my fishing skill. Although it wasn't risk-free, I would still have to be careful as river jelly can be found in here too, but of course it's fairly rare. I had spent the entire day here and managed to reach level 8 fishing, which at that point I should have called it quits for the day and saved the progress. Instead I got too greedy and I managed to catch a river jelly, meaning I would have to reset the entire day. On my second attempt at using catfish bait here, I nearly reached fishing level 8 until I once more got the river jelly. But don't they say third time's the charm? And so it was. As soon as I hit fishing level 8, I didn't take any more chances and went straight to bed to save our progress. Being one level higher, I did try for the octopus again, but we still couldn't get it. But eventually, I thought to use some Dish of the Seas I'd had to boost our fishing level, and just like that, the octopus was ours. Now, let's get even more done. Just like that, we had officially completed this second row of collections in order. Using some more magic bait in the ocean, the next fish was the squid. What was promising about this row of the fishing collection is that both the seaweed and green algae are here, and once we unlock them, fishing will be fairly safe, apart from the jellies, which should make our grind to level 10 fishing easier. By the time we'd reached the sea cucumber, it was enough to take me to level 9 fishing, and only one more level to go until the mastery items are ours. And since sea cucumbers grant me 52 experience per catch, I chose to grind my fishing level over the next few days, making sure to not be too greedy. With pretty much just repeat grinding to do, I laid out every shipping collection item into a big chest in order to make things easier, and same with the minerals and artifacts. But finally, after a few more days of sea cucumber farming, I had reached the promised land that is fishing level 10. This now means the Mastery Cave is open and we can work towards getting the relevant items from there. One of the best ways to level up in Mastery is through the Skull Caverns, and that's what I did, bombing as much as possible, and before the end of the day we had completed one level of it, which was all we needed. And at the Mastery Cave, I chose the Foraging Mastery to get the Mystic Tree Seed, which when tapped would give us the Mystic Syrup we'll eventually need for the shipping collection. Another perk of the Foraging Mastery is it also gives us the Treasure Totem, that we can use to find any of the artifacts we're still missing too. As we enter the winter, I'm still sorting out my collection chests, but we are very close to having everything we need. One thing I knew we couldn't get until later is the smoked fish, since as mentioned before, to make a smoker, I'll need all 3 jellies, which would mean only after we finish the fishing collection can we make one. And just like that, with the Mystic Syrup in hand, the smoked fish is the only thing we need for the shipping collection. By the time we reach the anglerfish, the next artifact is normally a tough one to get, with the strange doll, but with the secret note, we can get one right here for free. After donating the next 2 items to the museum, Gunther is at my door to hand us the rusty key to the sewers, which is honestly perfect, as there are a few fish coming up that require access to the sewers. We did need to call in some help from the treasure totems to get the prehistoric skull, but as you can see, soon we're going to be completing the artifact and mineral collections. And on the 17th of summer year 4, I donated the final artifact, officially completing the artifact collection. With one of the 5 collections out of the way, our workload has shrunk completely, leaving us only with the shipping collection, fishing collection, mineral collection, and cooking collection to continue to work on in order. As we reach the crab pot fish, they are always the easiest to do, since all you have to do to get them to the collection is to pick them out of a crab pot. But on the 5th of fall, we donated the star shards, officially completing the minerals collection too, getting a nice star drop as a reward. This meant there were only 3 collections left, with both the fishing and cooking only having just over a single page. As we reach the void salmon, thankfully we have already donated enough items to access the sewers, the mutant bug lair, to get the dark talisman, to then catch it, along with the slime jack not long after. The next 3 fish are all night market exclusive fish, but thankfully if you've watched my YouTube short, you will know fishing in this area with magic bait will allow you to catch all 3 of them, removing the need to take the night market submarine. At this stage, we only had 4 fish left to get, the 3 jellies and the goby. As you would all know, getting the jellies is the most hardest part of the challenge. For some reason, I don't know. Getting the river jelly took us over 4 Stardew Valley days and over an hour and a half of real time, but eventually we got it. To compensate for that, it only took me a single hook for the cave jelly. That meant we had completed the entire first pages of all of the collections in order. The fishing collection only has 2 more left to get, the cooking one only has 11 more to make, and of course the shipping collection has over a page and a half. After getting the sea jelly, I could finally make a fish smoker to get the final item I needed for the shipping collection, the smoked fish, and was the only item between us and the final goal of this challenge. On the 5th of winter, I caught the goby, completing the fishing collection in order, and was by far the hardest one to do, again. But let's finish this challenge. But finally, the moss soup was made, completing the cooking collection in order, leaving only the shipping collection. By this point, I already had every single shipping collection item laid out in chests, ready to ship, and after 4 in-game years, and everything this challenge has thrown at me, let's do it. And there we have it, every single collection in Stardew Valley completed in order on a single farm. Honestly, I never want to do that again, but that doesn't matter anymore. After 4 in-game years, we had finally done it. This video, as you can expect, took a very long time to put together, so if you enjoyed, a like and subscribe would go a very long way. And you might want to check out the original series where I completed each of the collections one by one, if you wanted to see a different approach. If you wanted to support the channel further, you can check out channel memberships too, giving you access to my very own new member-only emotes and lots of other perks too. So the question is, what challenge should I attempt next? Let me know down in the comments. But for now, I'll catch you in the next one. Later.